Hey everybody, what's up? OCD Mikey, Hi-Fi Guy here, and I'm going to do a quick video right now just to bring most people up to speed about just a little bit about me and my background. I've done this a couple times before, but I realize I have like 550 videos, and y'all maybe have seen like 20 of them if you're lucky, and so I know it gets lost in the shuffle with all the stuff. The purpose for this video is to let you guys know that I'm not just some joker on YouTube talking smack with an arrogant attitude and no filter. I've been doing this for a long time. Allow me to go ahead and go through my credentials, if you will, my resume, so you guys sort of know who you're talking or who's talking to you and who you're dealing with. Okay, so in 2000, let's see, Y2K, so 2001, it was 2001, I started Virastar, okay? Virastar is a cable company. I started out with the Ultra Reference line of cables, and this, let's see, I had Ultra Reference and Reference and Ultra Reference. That was my first cable line. Great cables. I did well. I started out on Audiogon, selling on Audiogon as a seller there. I'll go. I don't need to go. I could go way back. We could go to the way back machine, and I could tell you how I sold 2 motorcycles to start Virastar and all that kind of stuff. But let's just start with Virastar, okay? Virastar is named after my grandmother Elvira, and she was a wonderful Cuban lady, a complete saint, and I loved her with all my heart. And so I named my company after her, Virastar. And I don't know, star, she's a star in the sky. She was a star in my heart, so Virastar seemed apropos. The designs that I came out with, my first reason why I did this was to come out with cables that were as good. I saw AudioQuest, my first cable I ever looked at, and I saw their geometry and all that stuff, and I said, you know what, I looked at the price, I could do this as good or better for about half. I bet you I could do it for half the price. And you know what? Because this is ridiculous pricing. Even 20 years ago was ridiculous pricing. I think Paris speaker cables was 10 grand or something like that. So I started a cable company and I did some designs. They weren't really breakthrough designs, but they were very high quality, and I provided good service. They were built to last a lifetime, and I did well. In 2008, okay, when the ass fell out of the market and everything else, everything dove, I was really like, man, I gotta come up with something. At that point, there was a design I had in the back of my head that I decided to move forward with, which was foils. So Virastar started the Grand Illusion line of cables, which are all foils to this day. They don't use round wire. They're flat foils, and not like a flat ribbon cable like Nordos, where it's a bunch of round wires in a line. This is actually a solid piece, 2 inches wide, so whatever, like this wide, okay, of solid copper or pure solid silver. The silver that I use is investment, it's higher than investment grade, it's 99.997%, so very high purity silver, and those were the first foil designs. The first year that I introduced that power cord, the Grand Illusion power cord, it won Product of the Year by Stereo Times, and to this day, people lose their mind when they hear their first Virastar power cord. That is absolutely the cable that I lead with. The next would be the speaker cables, then the interconnects, and more on that later. Okay, so that was how I started in the business. That was 2008 is when I just signed those, but 2001. So 8 years of making round wire cables. During that time, after I started Virastar, and after I got the foils, Grand Illusion, in other words. I started to show at CES every single year. I was in the top of the Venetian. I teamed up with a company called April Music, Simon Lee, and we were always in the top floor of the Venetian Hotel for CES every year. So I exhibited with Martin, with, let's see, who else was in our room? Magnapan was in our room one year. We actually had Wilson Sasha twos one year with Wilson. I said Martin. I can't remember all the others, but high level brands. Okay, so I got very good recognition as having an excellent cable brand that could hang with the top level and the upper echelon of the industry. We were right across from Boulder, from YG Acoustics. I mean, these were the guys that I'd walk out in the hall and be talking with. So needless to say, during those years, I met a lot of people. I made a lot of contacts. I made a lot of friendships. At one point, I remember my first big sale with Virastar. I was out in the Carolinas at a palatial estate. I met Trent Suggs there, who now owns Audio Research. I was up. The next step, I guess, one of the next milestones was I bought an amplifier company in California. I bought an amplifier company that was long-standing. It was called AB Amps. AB Amps used to make the Cinepro amplifiers. So you might have heard of Cinepro, 6-channel behemoth amplifier. I came on with AB and I decided to make something that was better than any Cinepro that had ever been made. I made the Virastar SSA 64, which was a 6-channel, 2400 watt amplifier, and I was trying to cross the bridge between home theater and hi-fi. I did very well with that amplifier. It did absolutely do the trick. It was I had reviewers say best solid state amplifier they'd ever heard. The main cool thing about it was a 6-channel amp. You could use it to tri-amp a stereo rig, which was just, there's not very many amps out there where you can use a single amplifier to tri-amp a stereo setup. So that amp was a great success. To date, you can't even find them used. They're very hard to find used. If you do find them used, snap them up because they're inexpensive. At the time, I was selling them for $7,000, and you could commonly pick them up used for $3,000, $3,500. So if you ever see a Virastar SSA 64, it has my V in the middle, too massive. It was milled out of aluminum. The same aluminum maker that made the Nelson Pass amps was making my amplifier plates too. 3/4-inch plate glass and a triangle that was backlit with LEDs and fiber optic. It was just a killer amplifier. Okay, so I owned an amplifier company. This means I bought a long-standing amplifier company that was in California. The amps, while I was there, I sold to George Lucas a stack of like 12 amps that went into his Presidio in the San Francisco, the screening room. If you go in there, it's all AB amplifiers from when I owned that company. Okay, I sold that job. We had another professional users, Buddy Guys in Chicago. Was it Buddy Guys Blues? Whatever the bar, not Buddy Guy, but Buddy Miles, Buddy, one of the buddies. Anyways, so there's a lot of AB amps that are still out there. If you look on eBay, look for AB International or AB amps. Frank Zappa used to use our amps on tour. I have a picture of Frank Zappa holding a tour jacket that says AB Amplifiers with Frank holding that jacket. That became my property. I still have those photos. So I owned an amplifier. I had 3 employees. I had a forklift, a warehouse full of parts. And I used to sit with the guy who made the amplifiers, my electrical engineer, and watch him design and ask him questions. That was the benefit of owning this company, is that I got to sit with the guys and watch how they put these amps together and ask them questions and see how the circuits went and watch how they would test and try and put in the test jig and test and do different upgrades that I would offer that I tried to instill, and we improved the amplifiers. And so I got to see that firsthand how it was done. Now, I was the guy that signed the checks when we had to go buy the PC boards, when we had to buy the metalwork, when I had to have things done. So that's why when I speak about the cost of amplifiers and how much things cost, I'm intimately associated with that because I owned an amplifier company and I did make those purchases. I bought the output devices. I know all the crap, the BOM that goes into an amplifier. I know how to do that stuff, okay? I went to the School of Hard Knocks. I did not go to college, but I went to the School of Hard Knocks. I owned an amplifier company in Northern California, in Sacramento, and I got my ass beat up while I was doing that, but I learned how to do that. Now, I got out of the amplifier company because I don't like administrative crap. I don't like running a business in that manner. I like to hire people for that. I'm more of a front guy, an idea, a concept guy. So I sold that to the guy that was stuffing my boards. It stayed AB Amps. It went off to a guy named Bob in Rockland, and I sold that amplifier company. So I'm intimately aware of costs involved with amplifiers. After that, I decided to call up Mark Levinson. He had Red Rose Music at the time. I called him up just to talk to him to say, hey man, how did you do what you did? Well, tell me how to do it, man. I'm trying to do it. If I can do 1/10 of what you have done, I'll be a success. He invited me up to, after an hour on the phone, he answered the damn phone when I called Red Rose. I couldn't believe it. I wasn't even prepared. By the time I was done talking with him, he had invited me up to Manhattan, where he lived at the time, to see a project that he was working on for LG Electronics. Okay, I flew up to Manhattan. I had a buddy that lived in Central Park South, stayed with my best friend, and I hung out with Mark for a weekend. We became friends. He told me about his new project where he was working with LG Electronics, and he hired me at that point to be part of his marketing team. Okay, I was the marketing expert in consulting with LG Electronics of Korea. I went to Korea to Seoul 3 different times. 2 of those times I was on the corporate dole with from LG Electronics. I was making a lot of dough. For those short 2 months that I was there, I made some great money in 2 months. I flew to Korea, first class, and stayed at the JW Marriott in Gangnam, and got the expense account to eat like the top of the line and expense all of it. It was great. It was a lot of fun. Later on, I found myself in the corporate boardroom with the top brass at LG Electronics. Here I am wearing an Armani suit that I bought for, a while back, that I just had in case I needed an Armani suit. Well, it was probably a little overdone, but it was double-breasted, pinstripe, the whole thing. I probably looked like a gangster. But nonetheless, I went up to LG, met with them, left. During that time, I was with Barry Willis. Barry Willis has worked for the What Hi-Fi and Stereophile. He's a journalist. He's been working in the hi-fi industry for a long time. I'm still good friends with Barry Willis. During that time, when I was with Mark and Simon, I also made a lot of contacts, met a lot of people. I got to sit alongside Simon, see how he built things. I got to sit with Mark while he developed for LG Electronics his high-end, because LG was going to do a high-end brand of electronics. They canned it. At one point, it was actually in 2008, and I'm probably my timelines are gonna get screwed up, but in 2008 they shelved the whole thing, and so that was that for that deal. But it was still experience that I learned in being with corporate level hi-fi companies and how they operate. I went to this massive factory in Korea where they had people lived there and they worked there, and it was an LG thing. It was like a whole city. It's crazy. Okay, let's see if I'm trying to remember everything here. So I did that with Mark, came back to the US, continued on with Virastar, was doing great. What would happen is people started asking me, they would ask me after they buy my cables, they would be like, man dude, your cables are so good. What do you recommend for a DAC? What do you use for an amp? What do you use? And I would tell them, and they'd go buy it. And after a while, I'm like, man, I'm stupid not to represent these brands that I really dig. I might as well represent them and sell to people, to my clients that buy the cables. They want gear too, so why don't I take care of them in that manner? And that's what I did. So now I'm a dealer and I carry very select brands. Now, people like to speculate out there that I can't get certain brands, and that's why I carry so few. No, I'm just not one of those sellers that blanket sells everything you can. You must understand, all I have to do is get in with one distributor, and one distributor will have like 15 different names. So all I have to do is get an account with one distributor, and I can put 15 different brands on my website and make it look like I'm some big dude that has 15 different brands because I got an account with one distributor. And those distributors, you don't even have to buy thing one to get the account. You can just get the account with a business license, blah, blah, blah. I don't even have to buy a piece, okay? The brands that I represent now are going to be all American brands, and they're going to be, and I import some Nat audio from Serbia, but I am slowly eviscerating anything that's not American. I will be carrying all American stuff that is smaller American-made companies, because I don't like the corporate brands. They lose their passion. And I have other electronics and things like that. These are all very exclusive brands that are ones that I like a lot, that I use myself, and that I back. Okay, I invented something. I have a U.S. patent for a connector. I use foils, so I designed a connector that supersedes RCA and XLR and is better in every way. It's the first. With my design, which will be introduced once I capitalize that end of the business, I will have created at least 2 industry firsts that have never been done in interconnect design. And I've got a patent on it, and hey, it's just, that's not really like I'm trying to make any dough on the patent or whatever. I'm just trying to show you that that my brain can innovate, okay? I can invent things, and I can get a patent, a US patent, in electronics design for hi-fi. So I'm not just a talking head that talks out my chowder hole. I have time under my belt. I've got a US patent. I have much experience in the industry with top level people. So that is why when you hear me do my videos, I have an attitude, because I'm sick of the shit, right? I've been doing this a long ass time. I have contacts at the top of the industry. These guys will not say anything ever publicly, but trust me, when we are alone, they have the same disdain for the marketplace, the same disdain for corporate bullshit, and the same attitude that I do. I'm the only one that vocalizes it publicly, okay? Because I don't care, okay? I don't have to answer to anybody. I'm 100% self-capitalized. I'm well-capitalized. I'm bootstrapped. I don't owe anybody money. I have 0 investors. I write the book. I do what I want. So this is a little bit of my background so that you understand who is bringing you these messages and why I'm able to talk the way I do. In addition to that, if you do come to my demo and you sit in my demo room, you will instantly understand why I have the attitude I have about hi-fi and how most of it does not sound like real music. Because you will instantly get massive cred on who I am and what I do. It takes 1 second, and people will be, all of a sudden, the most prim and proper guys that are gentlemen will be swearing out their mouth the second they hear my rig, like, wow, okay? Then they know, okay, this is my man. He knows how to make it sound good, okay? So I'm coming to you as somebody that's seasoned. Yeah, I'm a little rough around the edges. Yeah, I'm not polished, but I don't feel that I have there's no need for that, okay? I give you the straight dope. I tell you how I feel. And these are my accolades. This is a little bit of my background. I probably missed some things because I've done a lot, but I'm just trying to put this into a quick video for you guys to give you a little idea of who Mikey is. I'm not just some blabbermouth on YouTube. I have a ton of experience, and it's solid, bona fide, gold bond experience in the industry. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. I am in lovely Chattanooga, Tennessee. We are about to try and rent room 311 at the Reed House. Look it up, room 311 at the Reed House in Chattanooga. Built in 1926 and 1927, a woman was murdered in room 311 by her husband or one of her suitors, and the room is said to be haunted. So I'm trying to rent it, but they don't want to rent it unless it's Halloween time or something like that. So trying to get them to allow us to stay there tonight. They're going to give us a tour in about 15 minutes, and I'll tell you guys about it a little later. But thanks for joining, and just wanted to say, hey, see you.